Why is there a scarecrow? Why does he have an eye of...
On his nose? I don't know.
No. No.
What's wrong with the eye on his nose?
It's evil.
You can go ahead and read. I'll get most of this done set up. But I do need the odd item to wear, so...
Ready?
Yes.
Hello. We are Adventuresome Reviews, and today we are reviewing Sacrifice. A Game of Gods. Ooh. By Rosetta M. Overman. I read the cover like 5 times. I couldn't remember anything. Ugh. This is why you should...
D.I.S. Grace.
I keep telling you, you should take care of the memory stuff.
I have the memory of a goldfish.
I have an excellent scientist. He's not exactly legal, but he'll fix that right up for you.
I'm not sure I trust you enough to go to a backwater scientist.
He's not backwater. He's a little underground, but we'll call that...
6 feet underground.
No!
I know how you work.
I would not send you to a dead guy. They're terrible at operations. They've lost all muscle sensitivity, and basically they can't do small work very well.
Here's something you need to do.
Like what?
The synopsis, maybe?
Oh, well, if you want to be boring, ahem. Desdemona's life changed the moment she left her body for the first time at age 14. Nearly 2 decades later, she is forced out of her comfort zone again when she takes responsibility for the destruction of a fan made of feathers she thought was harmless. That is, until her owner claims her soul and servitude as penance for what he deems a crime. To top it all off, her sister gets into more trouble than she can cope with, and the only one willing to help is Desdemona. But sometimes the curses we place upon ourselves are the ones that bind us the tightest. A fact that just might prove fatal. A short and sweet synopsis that I feel does fairly well to both describe the contents of the... set up the story, pique a little bit of interest without overselling the plot or revealing too much information.
I would agree. You may continue with your review.
So the book is a little bit shorter than most, so even if it's absolutely atrocious and you're bored and you have nothing else to do, it might be worth looking at. That aside, the greatest horrible word phrase, the greatest feather to this book's cap is the writing. It's, at least to my standards and in my opinion, it's probably the best written book we've reviewed so far, which says quite a bit considering that... Oh, you're giving me that weird look. Which says quite a bit considering that it's a self-published book.
I disagree. The writing...
I'm talking about merely the technical aspect of it.
Yeah, the prose.
Yeah.
I didn't really like the prose. It was alright, but it was... I don't know how to explain it, just... It sort of felt like it lacked depth.
the prose itself.
Obviously, I disagree. I'm not telling you. Yeah, I just. I'm not saying by no means am I saying it's fantastic, most amazingly written book ever. It just in comparison,
just like line for line, I felt Sunwielder was a much stronger word for word prose written book. This one, the correct word isn't lack of maturity, but it felt. Can't think of the right word. Just Samuel Fell had a much more defined. Felt like the author knew what they were trying to say all the time and knew how to get there. The prose for Sacrifice felt like the author was just, to some extent, saying the first thing that came to mind. There was no.
I might have a comment about that, but I don't know if that's necessarily the writing or...
I'm probably not expressing myself correctly. It's just...
Oh, you're clearly not expressing yourself correctly. Because either you're seeing ghosts, or I'm simply not understanding what you're suggesting. And both would be excellent excuses. And I shall use them both heartily. Disregard everything he said.
You're so mean to me.
Now, the writing aside, the flow and narrative, I had some...
It went way too fast. Like the overarching narrative with the romance and the progression of the story. Like the romance doesn't have any time to build at all. It just...
Okay, so it is a romance novel. It's kind of dressed in fantasy and sci-fi.
It struck me as very similar to Percy Jackson, but with a more romance inclined.
It is nothing like Percy Jackson. It's very okay. So you have that fantasy genre where all the gods are real, all the mythologies are real, and that, right? So if that is the that is the genre for this book, and it does the genre neither well nor worse than many others. So it is not like Percy Jackson. They just share the same genre.
That's the only thing I meant to say, is that they share that same subgenre of paranormal.
Right. But so the story is largely about a
psychic.
No. It's a romance story about a girl who is disinterested in boys meeting the super hot Archangel of Doom at Fallen Angel. That is the main meat of the story. And now, so...
Then again, I disagree, because the most of the story is of Desdemona going to save her sister. And while, to some extent, the romance isn't given a whole lot of time to display, but even though it's a significant section of the book, it's not an action story. It's a lot of the sort of like, it feels like Desdemona's personal character narrative is the romance element of the book, but the overall story is about her rescuing her sister.
Okay, it's 50-50 for me, right? So the general narrative arc is her rescuing her sister, but a large part of the story is dedicated to handsome brooding over there, brooding handsomely at girl who's like, I'm your slave, I refuse to fall in love with you or flirt with you, and that's 50% of the story. And then, like, 3/4 of the story through, and this is probably this is dealing with the narrative problem. It's like, she spends 3/4 of the book saying, he's sexy, but I'm his slave, so I'm not having none of that. And then all of a sudden, out of blue, no meaningful interactions between them. Their entire actions was, I'm your master and I'm hot. That was the entirety of the reactions in every scene.
Like,
then
it's more of the antagonistic because they were antagonistic, but it's the antagonistic in a way like, okay, they're going to be a couple at the end of the story, antagonistic.
Yeah.
And that was their entire romance, and you don't even really get scenes of it. You get flashes, or the author telling you that's what happens, or you hear about their interactions via her discussions with other characters. Desdemona actually has almost no interaction throughout the entire book with her main beau.
And so then, through the book, it's like her main beau gets hurt a little bit. And it's like, oh my god, I love him! Oh no, the world is ending!
I'm so happy in this abyss of nightmares, and that was also my main criticism, and that what I said by the book going too fast.
Right, and I did not disagree with that at all. And another kind of narrative problem I had with the book was the fact that a lot of the things that took place felt arbitrary, which can work, but the author kind of has to admit that's arbitrary in some way, shape, or form. The sister lucks into trouble.
Like, maybe a little bit, but I don't feel like she was chosen at random.
Yeah, but she was largely chosen because she was Desdemona's sister, but that was never admitted to. Mm-hmm. And the antagonist for the story went through this whole rigmarole of seducing Desdemona's sister when he could have completely done away with that and just had him kidnap her and take her down to hell.
Yeah.
Right? That would have actually helped the narrative a little bit, because it's clear I'm kidnapping her to get to Desdemona. What does seducing the sister help his plans at all? So, narratively, a little weak.
Yeah. One of my main problems is that Desdemona isn't allowed to do anything throughout the entire book. She's presented as the psychic, astral projector traveler. She's supposed to know about all this world, and so that's up for a cool character who knows the ins and outs of this paranormal world and knows a lot of spells and knows how to navigate it successfully and safely. But
she's never allowed to step forward into the role
and
of
be
God.
Cool.
Right? She doesn't even have to. She doesn't even have to kind of go fisticuffs with demons and whatnot. She just needs she needs to step into the guide role and
or just do something besides let other people do all the fighting for her.
Yeah, because she goes down to rescue her sister, and the moment she gets into a spot of difficulties, which admittedly were fairly serious difficulties, she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna call both my beau and then my supernatural godfather." They show up and they basically take care of everything from there until they drop off the map for.
Yeah, all she does is to save her sisters basically walk and talk, and not even.
She is very much a pawn, and which is not narratively bad. It's just neither she nor the story nor anybody in the story
builds into it
or admits it. She's the protagonist, and she is billeted as the master of her fate a little bit.
Yeah, not so much billeted as, it's just the reader kind of wants her to be, and she's not. And the author doesn't take it the other way to build the story with her being powerless either.
So, now that we've ragged on it a little bit, I'm gonna say the characters were somewhat beneficial to the story.
Well, I did like Desdemona. Her sister was, well, not likable.
The author owned the fact that Desdemona's sister was slightly unlikable, and it was an intentional part of the character, which kind of both hurt and helped the story a little bit because of how the story ended. A little bit. Desdemona's sister being dislikable took a little bit out of the ending. Maybe just a little.
You're getting spoilerish.
Like, our best discussion was when we got knee deep in spoilers.
But there's degrees of spoilers. You went to the 10th degree
Just
culmination of the entire story. The final trick in the author's handbook.
Oh, no, not really. No. There's 2 plots to the end thing, and only one is really important. Anywho's, the characters, by no means the standout for me, were a solid addition to the story, especially in relation to past books we read where the characters just felt kind of flat. So it's like we had a large cast, and each character had personality, relative depth, and history that made them both unique and interesting.
Yeah. It was probably more the characters than anything else, but this book did hold my interest. Despite all the criticism I leveled against it, it held my interest all the way through, and
it was an enjoyable read. Returning to characters a little bit, Desdemona felt a little bumper stickerish. How to explain this? Okay, so her thinking would be it would happen like 3 or 4 times. That story would be like, she was thinking about soda. It's like, I would never put that poison in my body. A bumper sticker soda is bad. Phrase.
A medium for the author's opinions.
Not necessarily the author's opinions. It's just because it's not that these character facets did
She
it.
expressed opinions throughout the story that had nothing to do with the story.
Yes and no, because the opinions still built character. It just they're phrased in a poor way, and they came across as, like I said, bumper stickerish.
Well,
yes,
even though they built story for the character, they never interacted with the character. It's not like somebody saying, I support guns, and not having any guns ever. Or that's kind of what it was like.
Yeah, it's bumper. Yeah, it's character details
without validation
or even appearance effect on the story. The closest thing was literally the soda is evil, and it only arose because her beau asked, "Hey, get me a soda." He says, "I don't drink soda. I've known the house. They're evil. They're poison. I would never put that poison in my body." I actually phrased it better than she did. In that kind of off-the-cuff, overblown way, it was... I can only describe it as literally being kind of a bumper sticker opinion that either your mother or some political person would say to you. It's like, she brought up the fact that lawyers were sleazy in an incredibly bumper sticker kind of lawyers are sleazy kind of way. So which detracted a little from her character for me.
They were kind of hollow and empty, so it didn't really detract from the character because, like that.
No, yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Anything else?
Let's see. I did
like the ending, actually.
Yes, the ending was a strong facet to the story.
An excellent culmination and an excellent not a resolution for the characters, but it puts the characters in a really good situation, and the decisions they make in that situation are really enjoyable from a narrative sense, and as a culmination to the story and the narrative thus far.
I agree, and another thing about the decisions they make is that they are not decisions without danger. The end decision could go very south.
They're meaningful decisions, right? It's not like, oh, I'm going to pick up a pizza. It's like, I can either turn off this bomb or pick up this pizza that's another bomb, and one's going to blow up and one's going to not.
That's a horrible analogy.
Eh. It's explosive, though.
I feel there's something more I should talk about, but I can't remember it right now, so...
I think we've discussed this enough.
Okay.
No need for us to meander and fumble around any longer.
Yeah.
I think you have a last mission for the viewers, though.
Over your dead body. We actually completely forgot to mention Michael's new duds. Aren't they swanky? A bit awkward, though, seeing as he's supposed to be a posh-ass gentleman. But no, now he's a farmer with a bow tie, which actually kind of works.
He's a gentleman farmer. He grows those good morals and manners.
He looks like a party mascot now. With the happy-go-lucky hat, the brightly colored shirt.
I think he looks swanky.
He looked better in a tux.
Tux!
Oh, and they're hiding out little pumpkin lights.
Ah, well. Mike's murder aside, see you all tomorrow.
Fairly well, our future friends.